Major accident in South Dakota causes a strange detour. Full moon rising. South Dakota rest areas go disco. Maintenance and more on this episode of
The Clutch Trucker Channel.
Clutch Trucker, filmed before a live and fuzzy studio audience. Yep, that's Rusty, the world-famous meatball dog. Hey YouTube, Clutch Trucker here. Thanks for tuning in to another edition of the Clutch Trucker Channel. Yes, coming to you live from the Clutch Trucker Studios, currently parked here at Hartford, South Dakota, at the Coffee Cup fuel stop. Went ahead and topped off the fuel when I got here tonight, since looks like it'll be going up again after midnight. Well, I hope you enjoyed my last video where I was ranting about the toilet paper dispensers. You know, like I say, that just chaps my butt, literally, because I have to deal with that every day. So, you know, if you like our stuff here on the channel, please, a lot of you who watch the channel do not subscribe, so please do that. I'll ask you to do that again in the end. And please share my videos with everybody else, too. We've kind of been stagnant. It would be nice to kind of boost it up a little bit. So if you can help us out with that, me and Rusty would really appreciate it. All right, yeah, delivered my load of cereal in Cheyenne on Thursday morning at the Walmart Distribution Center. Then had the rest of that day off. I was picking up my load of Lignite, which I'm on now, heading to Wisconsin for Friday, but I like to try to drive up Thursday night, because typically when I'm driving empty through Wyoming up I-25, there's a really windy section between Chugwater and Wheatland, Wyoming. There's a road called Bordeaux Road. A lot of us in the industry call it the Swift Graveyard, because a lot of Swift trucks end up flipping off of the road there, because it can be almost not windy at all in the rest of the state. And right there, you'll get these gusts that just come right across and will blow trucks off the road. So typically the wind isn't as bad at night going up there, and if I'm going to be pulling empty, I'd rather be doing that at night so I can get closer to my pickup for Friday. So that's what we did. So Thursday, after I delivered, those of you who have watched the channel for a long time, you know, a couple of months ago when I got my last oil change, I had to replace 2 of the drive axle airbags, 1 on each axle. And they said, well, the other 2 are going to have to be replaced soon. I'm like, yeah, I just can't afford to do them all right now. So I had a fairly good week last week, money-wise. So I'm like, all right, well, then let's spend some money back on the truck. And I went and and picked up my airbags for the drive axle, the other 2. And I've also had now with me, rolling around on my side box onto the passenger side for over a year, a couple of cab shock absorbers. Because now on the cab, at the back of the cab, you have airbags, little airbags, and I had to replace those a couple of times, if you're sure you remember in my videos. And you also have the shock absorbers. I tried to replace those over a year ago, and I couldn't get the damn nuts off. The bolts, they were all stuck. So I knew I'd have to bring it to a shop to do that. So I thought, okay, let me try that. And I went to a different shop in Cheyenne, Graber Diesel Repair, because Sap Brothers wants to charge too much to do the airbags. So I thought, well, okay, if they're just going to charge time, labor, let's go there. Had them do an oil change. I was due for that. Had them do the other 2 drive axle airbags. So now I've got all new drive axle airbags on this truck. Those had never been replaced on this truck. I've got 993,000 miles on this truck, so they were definitely due. And I'd never replaced the cab shocks either. I've replaced cab airbags before, because I can do those myself easily. You just need a bottle jack. That's all you need for that. But I knew I'd have to bring it to a shop where they had the, you know, the air pressure, the you know, thing. But it turns out they couldn't even get them off with that. They had to cut the bolts off to replace those shocks that I provided for them. And I can tell you, boy, the ride is so much better now with all new drive axle airbags. You got 4 of them total, and then those 2 cab shocks. Drivers, if you're going down the road and, you know, anytime you hit a big kind of dip thing in the road and you feel like that extra woomph, it could be your cab shocks. Mine were blown. And so it was just the airbags back there. Well, then you're just bouncing even more, because the back of the cab has got the airbags and the shocks to help them. Well, the airbags keep you from bottoming out, but they're not going to have the resistance that the shocks have. So I can tell you that was well worth the money, even though I hated spending it, but well worth the money to get that done, and so that's improved the ride. So, of course, the oil change, the drive axle airbags, the cab shocks, that took the majority of the day. Then still had to go to the grocery store, get a few more items to go back out on the road, because, as I'll talk about in a little bit, the Lignite loads may be disappearing, so I might not be able to run through the house as often anymore. We'll talk about that coming up. And then also made my way up to Douglas, Wyoming, where we used to live years ago, to the Broken Wheel truck stop last night. Was that last night? Yeah, I guess that would have been last night. So I could pick up my load of Lignite today in Glen Rock and head towards Wisconsin. So I basically had a day to fill, but as I always say, if, okay, I don't have a load, but I needed some other stuff done, well, let's do all that. And so I went ahead and did that. Now, today, after I picked up the Lignite, then I'm heading towards Rapid City, South Dakota. You got to go through Lusk, you go north on 18, and then 18 turns across into South Dakota. And right at Hot Springs, then you hit the junction with Highway 79, where you go north to Rapid City. And that's a hairy intersection, and I've always said it probably needs a light or something, because the north-southbound lanes do not stop, and it's a 4-lane highway. You got to get across. So it's kind of tough. Well, it looks like there was a bad accident there today. All right. Got something going on up here. Lots of disco lights.
Left at the stop sign.
Looks like we got a major crash blocking the whole intersection. This is interesting. Right here at the junction of Highway 18. Hey, come on, grinder in there, baby. And 385 and South Dakota 79. But we do need to turn left to go north to get to Rapid City. It's like a big truck with the flatbeds involved. I see the hood flip down. This is interesting. I was going to stop there at the Coffee Cup fuel stop, TA Express, but maybe we won't be doing that. Okay, I can see a camper in the ditch over there. So probably that's a dangerous intersection. It is tough to cross. Probably the truck coming down the hill T-boned the camper, who probably pulled out when they shouldn't have, would be my guess. But what I've seen is how they're in the ditch. The truck is still in the lane going southbound. I say it's a pretty dangerous intersection. It's a tough one to get through. That's why actually when you're leaving that Coffee Cup fuel stop, trucks have to go to the left down the frontage road and then turn back right instead of going across the major part of the intersection. Yeah, like I said, unfortunately the camera didn't catch it, but I did see that camper off there, and so all I can figure, because I've seen it happen and be real close before, where the northbound or southbound traffic is not stopping and somebody's trying to make it across and they just didn't time it right, and that's my guess as to what happened there. Then as I'm tooling along, talking to my wife on the phone, as the sun is going down, the moon's just starting to come up, big full harvest type moon, all kind of red and everything. I'm going to zoom in. It doesn't do it justice on this. Then a little bit later, after the sun's gone down, coming up across a rest area on the right side and one on the left side, South Dakota likes to put these like concrete like kind of looking teepee things, you know, to mimic like an actual teepee, to honor, of course, the Indians and earlier settlers in South Dakota. But now they've got them lit up with disco lights. All right, so here's the one on the right side of the highway, the side I'm going on. You can see it's kind of lit up all nicely. Oh, doesn't that look nice? Oh, look on the left. Oh, it's changing colors. How about that? Disco teepee, baby. I thought, well, that's kind of fun. South Dakota kind of making their The little teepee things look a little more fun. Why not? Okay, so like I say, delivering my load of Lignite to Rothschild, Wisconsin, Beauregard, USA on Monday. I've got another cereal load I'm picking up on Monday afternoon, going back to Cheyenne for a Wednesday morning delivery, and then picking up again in Glen Rock, Wyoming, going back to Rothschild, Wisconsin for next Friday. So, busy week, but as of now, that may be the last Lignite load. The receiver, Beauregard, USA, apparently now is maybe looking at getting their Lignite from a different source in possibly New Mexico. So if that's the case, then I've got no reason to take the cereal back to Cheyenne, because rates out of Cheyenne, Denver area are awful. They're less than $1 a mile right now, and they're heavy, and the cereal would have to pay almost twice what it pays now for me to make it worthwhile to then go back through the house a lot. So unfortunately, I may have to shift my whole mode. I've been really enjoying this the last few months, being able to run through the house at least once a week. It's been nice. But I may have to go back to what I used to do, and which is have enough clothes on the truck and everything for a couple of months or more, and know that I won't be home that often, because I love being a truck driver. Just being a truck driver out of Cheyenne is tough. It's just these two loads have been working really well for me, but now that may be crumbling away. And those of you curious, and a lot of people have always kept putting in the comments when I kept having all the breakdowns, well, you just need to sell that truck and buy a newer truck, blah, blah, blah. Well, believe me, I actually honestly looked into it and crunched all the numbers and everything. Problem is, nobody wants to give me what this truck is worth, even though it's a glider, where typically gliders are still commanding big money. Because I did the whole remodel, and it's a custom job, they don't know how to sell that. So they're not willing to give me enough of, to make it worthwhile than to trade this in on something else. Not to mention, I love my remodel. I love the toilet, the fridge, the freezer, the sink, the big full-size bed upstairs, my little clutch trucker couch back there behind me. I don't have to eat out at truck stops. I'm too used to all that. And but I did crunch all the numbers, and I did look into it. I even looked at a 2020 Western Star at the Freightliner in Mankato, Minnesota, and I wasn't too impressed with it, honestly. And what I would have had to do to that to make that more like this truck wasn't worth it. Not to mention, now, whose problems are you taking on? All these used trucks, even a 2020, still has closer to 500,000 miles on it. I've got almost 1 million miles on this one, but since I've done so many repairs and changed out so much stuff in the last year, all the wearable parts on this truck basically are brand new. And I know the history. Like I say, I did crunch the numbers. It just doesn't make sense. So it makes sense to stay with this truck and to keep going along. I've done so much in the past year. Drums, brakes, airbags, water pump, fuel pump. So many major components that wear. And I don't have to deal with DEF, the after treatment system, and that whole one box, as you hear about a lot on Freightliners, which is what controls that whole after treatment system, and that's 15 grand if one of those goes out. It only costs about 20 grand to rebuild the engine on this truck, which I'm probably going to be due for within the next 200,000 miles. But why take on somebody else's problems and then possibly have to change out that one box and I'd be out the same amount of money, and now I got a truck payment? No, thank you. So I hope that answers all of you your questions. For those of you who keep saying, well, just trade that in, buy a new truck, buy a new truck. No. Not gonna do it. Not gonna do it. Well, thanks for tuning in for that one. Yeah, we appreciate that. Some interesting stuff. I love the disco rest areas. What do you think about that? Thanks for tuning in. As always, please subscribe. Please like and comment. I get your comments as soon as I can. Sometimes takes a few days because I'm a working truck driver. Clutch Trucker on Instagram. Clutch Trucker on what used to be Twitter, now X. And I did finally put up something on TikTok just the other night. Just a shortened version of my last video where I'm ranting about the toilet paper stuff. I believe that is Clutch Trucker at TikTok, or maybe it says Clutch Trucker 5 at TikTok. I don't know. I'm sure you can find it if you want to. All right. Yes, please subscribe. I already said all that. Yada, yada, yada. And as always, sniff that magic YouTube fairy dust. Clutch and Rusty, out. Tuesday night's plastic corrosion awareness meeting, I think, was a great success. And I'd like to thank Mr. Spell for putting that on for us. Thank you, Mr. Spell. To say this is an excited dog would be an underestimate, right? Are you excited? You're waiting for something? You want bacon strips? Is that it? Oh, bacon strips! All right, we've just got a lot of little crumbs. So there you go. So we're gonna finish off that bag. But don't worry, faithful viewers. There's a whole other bag of bacon strips up there, and I have at least 1 or 2 other bags at home. Thanks to everybody sending me bacon strips. Connie, Junior, Dunk sent one with a different flavor too, so we'll have to try that one. So yeah, we're just finishing off the little pieces from this little bag here. So, oh yeah. Oops, sorry, I was going too fast for you. Here it comes. There it goes. Oh yum. Couple more little pieces. The doggies crack cocaine. Yes, it's bacon strips. What would you do for a bacon strip? All right, I stole that from Klondike bars. All right, there you go. Happy dog look. Rusty!